didn't didn't experience anything over Shabbat over the last couple of days that were dangerous. There were rocket sirens in a lot of places, including which is very strange and not usual at all. Again, just everybody that comes on, please mute yourself. So that was a little harrowing. So I don't know if I can mute everybody. That but if everybody could please mute themselves. That would be really helpful. So that in that sense, it was very on Shabbat. Everybody could please mute themselves. I've been doing this for 3 years on Zoom already. People are works. But on Shabbos, when the news hit in Israel, just to give you a sense of what it was like here, if you weren't in the South, so messages went out very quickly throughout the communities that there was a serious situation, and information spread like wildfire, and the message went out to everybody that they should carry phones on them. There should be one household that has their phone on and to be getting messages. And sorry, it's a little to be able to receive messages and to know what is happening. Anybody that had a gun was asked to wear their gun to make sure, just in case. And no communities how bad it was going to get. In other words, nobody knew if there were Palestinians were going to come into every community. It turns out, thankfully, it was limited only to the south. So Shabbat from, let's say, 9 a.m. And on was everybody should bunker down in their homes. And again, bunker down in their homes, I don't want you to get the feeling that we were stuck in bomb shelters for the entire day. Most of us were out on the street, right outside our homes, talking to each other. It was very reminiscent of Corona, when we were told to stay in our homes and not go anywhere. So a lot of people didn't go to their, if they were invited out for lunch that day, they didn't go out. They didn't go out for lunch. So that was like, the feeling that you got then was this feeling, okay. But again, people weren't checking the news, they were checking for emergency messages. So nobody really understood the scope of what was going on. People started getting snippets of information, I'm sure, much like you did. As the day progressed, so if you had, most people, have family members that are in the army, or were brought into the army, were called up for reserve duty. So that's when people started realizing this is different than anything that we've had before. We started seeing people driving all over the place and mass call-ups of reserves. So that was different. And then once Saturday night hit, so that's when we started seeing the news and seeing the horrific images and started realizing that there's an ongoing situation that was not something that was going to end very soon, and in fact is still ongoing as I talk to you now. There are still the reports that I'm looking at still have communities that have Hamas members inside the communities, and the IDF soldiers are still trying to get them out. So that's where we're standing now, which is terrifying. I don't know if you can even imagine such a thing where Hamas members are able to get through and then go from house to house. That's something that's just never happened before and is very, very scary. And then you have at the same time just about every able-bodied man and woman who serves in a combat unit has been called up for reserve duty. So in our family, my oldest daughter's boyfriend has been called up. Students have been called up. My nephews have been called up. Everybody's on. And what that means is that you have to go to a central base and you're set up. If you're in tanks, you are most probably in a tank on the Gaza border, ready to go in. it seems that what the IDF is doing is, I'm not a security expert. Almost everybody on this call, on this Zoom, knows that. But what it seems that the IDF is securing Israel first, and then we'll go into Gaza. I'm sure, and I don't know how they're going to handle the 100 or so hostages that are being held in Gaza. Many of those are children. The scenes are horrific. There are children being held hostage, some with their parents and some without. There's no way of making that sound better. That's what's happening now. And then I'm sure after that, after they are able to secure Israel, come up with a strategy for the hostages, they will then go into Gaza. I don't think that this going into Gaza is going to be like anything that we've seen in the last 15 years going into Gaza. This is not going to be aerial bombings. The tanks are there and they're moving. I'm seeing videos of tanks moving. This is not tanks that are going to be shooting across the border. There's going to be tanks that are going to be quickly going into Gaza. So that's what we're looking at in terms of the situation here. In my town, just to give you an idea, my town is incredibly in a very, very safe area. It's a really, really safe area of the country. So that's where my town is. So just to keep in mind, and the security measures I'm about to outline for you are in safe areas. Okay, this is a safe area. What you have is the gate is locked, closed, and never happens. You can go in and go out. You can come out if you can come in if you're not part of the town. If you're visiting somebody, you can come in, but you're going to be checked. There's about 15 people doing security checks around. Usually we have 3. We've got drones up. We've got it's that, and that's in a safe place. In places that are down south, you've got soldiers on the street. We don't have soldiers on the street. We have soldiers that are reserve people, usually from our town, mostly from our town anyway, that are on duty, that have been assigned duty to make sure that nobody comes in. That's really the situation on the ground now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open up for questions. There's no way we're going to be able to do questions in an organized way by having people turn on their mics. So just type in the chat questions that you have, and that way I'll start answering questions. Okay, so let me just open up the chat here. Okay. So, should you bring your son home? I'm telling you, it's hard. There are no guarantees. But the Yerushalayim area is safe. Yeshivot, seminaries, programs are safe. I would tell you to tell your children, just follow the directions of the schools that they're in, and don't go out. Don't go out onto the streets. Don't go out. Again, I drove today. I drove all the way to Tel Aviv, and I walked around. Tel Aviv is completely closed, so it's not like there's anything to do. Most places are closed. It's not like you can go somewhere and hang out. So I would just tell your children, follow the rules of the school and stay there and stay in school. That's what I would say. I went to yeshiva in the mid '90s. During the second intifada, from the end of Oslo all the way to the second intifada, and we stayed in yeshiva, and that was pretty much safe. So that's what I would tell you. There aren't rockets flying into Israel, into Yerushalayim and into Beit Shemesh and into the places where most of your children probably are. So that, in that sense, it's safe. How could Israel tell? No one knows how this happened. Nobody knows the failure and the scope. I don't want to get into politics, and nobody can understand how we can hear a conversation in Tehran, how we can rob, all the secret documents of Iran's nuclear program, and do that without anybody knowing, and yet people 10 miles from us can plan it's the greatest failure of Israel's intelligence, not just since Yom Kippur War, but including the Yom Kippur War. And nobody has any idea how this happens. Just nobody has any clue how it happened. And there's a time. There'll be a time for investigations. There'll be a time for understanding. And when that happens, when that then we'll know. Now's not the time for the country to do that. Now's the time for the country to get secure and to secure itself. As Americans, so far as anything we can do. So I tell you 3 steps that I think that Americans can do. Number 1, pray. And I wrote this on my Facebook in case you pray. Second, call your member of Congress and your senator. It's so easy to do. Just Google who's my member of Congress. Then find your member. It'll tell you who your member of Congress is based on your zip code, and then write to them a simple line. I'm worried about Israel. I'm your constituent. I'm worried about Israel, and please make sure Israel has what it needs. What Congress is going to be working on now, and I know this from speaking to members of Congress over the last couple of days and speaking to people in the White House, they're going to be preparing an aid package for Israel before it needs it. It was after the last Gaza thing in 2021, Congress had a whole debate after to replenish Israel from what it was missing. Congress now is working, and especially congressional Democrats are working with the White House to make sure that gets there before. There's an aircraft carrier on the way here, which has never happened before. I have no idea what they're going to do with an aircraft carrier. I don't know, what America. It's a sign of strength. There's no great sign that America can have, but that's what I would say. Okay, let me see here. So those are the 3 steps that I would take. Sorry, the 3rd step that I would take is give to an Israeli charity. It doesn't have to be a tremendous amount of money. Pick an Israeli charity that speaks to you. It's something that that heals people, that helps soldiers, that helps families that have I recommend sure to please mute themselves. So that donate, pray, call your member of Congress, donate. Those are the 3 things that you can do. Was it a cyber attack? I don't know. Everything's working here. Our internet clearly is working. Everything is working. Is it true Iran could have done a cyber attack to make this occur? Iran is for sure behind this. Everybody understands that. Everybody knows that Iran is behind this. The extent of what Iran is behind this, we don't know. Again, if everybody could please mute themselves. I know it's like you should know this already, but this is for sure. Israel's typically a certain amount of time for intelligence forbearance. I think Israel's worried about about intel approval right now. It's just going to do whatever they have to do. I think Israel's going to do whatever it has to do. I don't know how they're going to deal with international pressure. Right now, the international world's behind us. It's pretty amazing because everybody loves dead Jews. What's going to happen when we start fighting back and how the pendulum will swing to international support? That I don't know. I hope that the international community understands that we have to do what we have to do. Again, this is going to be different than anything we've seen before. Do you think this is the first of more attacks to come? I think there's going to be more attacks for sure. I think also Hamas is preparing itself for when Israel comes over the border into Gaza. I think you're going to see fighting like you've never seen before. I think you're going to see booby traps and the IEDs that are set up. I think you're going to see things that we've really never, fighting that we have not seen. That people alive today who are not senior citizens have not seen this. And I think that we have to prepare ourselves emotionally, mentally, and again, lobbying for that and prayers. Is Gush safe? And Gush is safe? Yeah, okay. And would it be safe to leave and get to the airport? Yes, you can get to the airport from anywhere. Problem is that there's very few flights. The airport's open, but there's no airlines flying. So, but I think that'll change in a day or two. I think once the situation stabilizes, I think airlines like United and stuff will start having flights again. What can we do to social media? Switch the narrative. Why are people calling us responsible? We're never going to win the social media war. I've always been a proponent of this. It's just not going to happen. We're not going to win the social media war. Leave it to the professionals to deal it. You can put on social media to like forward those videos that are going around, especially from the IDF. I know the people in the IDF spokesmen people unit that are putting together these videos. They're excellent. They explain the situation. That's what I would say. I feel like I'm losing people here. Second. I that should not be taken as a sign that anything's wrong here. That probably terrified some people. There's nothing wrong. That I just switched my internet company and we've been having some issues with the new thing. So that's all that was. Okay, so yes, you can get to the airport, but there are very few flights. Okay. And to social media, again, just forward I don't know if anybody heard me, but forward the messages that you're seeing from the IDF. Their spokesperson's unit is excellent, and that's what I would suggest doing on social media. Okay, not a question. I'm letting everyone know India as a whole. Thank you very much. We appreciate the international support.
Okay, I can't hear anything. But
again, if people can mute themselves, that'd be helpful. How come Israel didn't see us coming? We talked about it. Nobody knows, and there'll be a time for that after this is all over for investigations and to figure it out. Money Biden sent to Iran. Yeah, it was not helpful that the Americans released Iranian money. America didn't send money to Iran and released Iranian funds. This is all Iran, all Iran. So helping Iran in any way, even if it's to prevent a worse evil, is definitely not helpful for us. Do you think the funding for this attack has something to do with yeah, okay, good. The IDF is asking for money for personal supplies to the soldiers. Okay, so the IDF is never going to ask you for money. The actual IDF is not going to ask you for money. There might be organizations that are helping the IDF and they want money. And I can't tell you any one organization. I can tell you we had soldiers tonight that bunked down in Mitzvah. We have a wedding hall here, and I'm not supposed to give the number. It's a lot of soldiers that are sleeping here in Mitzvah, and we went over there and brought them food, and then they asked for socks. It's not that the IDF isn't giving enough to the soldiers. It's just these are like strong men who need a lot. So if they can have more food, they want more food, and if they can have more socks, they want more socks. So these organizations are helping out with things like that. So that's good. Again, how many pairs of socks are you gonna be able to pack for yourself? How many pairs of socks does the average person own? So if you can have more socks, that's very good. How much are you gonna pack all your socks? You don't know how long you're gonna be gone for. So that's why you see solicitations like that. How much cooperation can we expect between Hamas and other Iran proxies? So the big question is Hezbollah. Okay, how does Hezbollah step in? So Hezbollah fired a rocket or two, and I think that was more just to show solidarity. I think that the country of Lebanon understands that Israel's threatened this before, so this isn't like it would be a surprise to them. They know this would come, but Israel would flatten Lebanon in a second and tear out all their infrastructure that they had if Hezbollah really got into it. But I know there are soldiers that have been called up to Hezbollah. They've been called up to Lebanon, excuse me, and they're waiting in Lebanon just in case anything happens. So Israel has reserved units at the Lebanese border. They're ready for it. Okay, so again, if anybody that's
No, estoy ahorita
en that'd be very helpful. Okay.
Yo tengo un amigo que está
Again, please.
las 4:30 de la mañana.
2000. Okay, how are we supposed to
No, pero prende la cámara. No.
Okay, I'm gonna try to find
No
that.
trabajé en nada este fin, estamos de la misma.
Anybody
Hoy no dormimos.
in the chat, they see who the person is.
¿Cómo estás? ¿Qué tal todo?
I don't know how to figure out. Okay. Oh. Oh, okay. I figured. Okay, it says here who's talking. Okay. Okay. How is this we luckily processing this? Should I rip my shirt? No, we're not in mourning. We're not in mourning. You should be praying. Okay, looks like we're frozen again. Okay, sorry for the
Happening?
so okay, it's still not person still have to mute themselves. So the
Oh,
so frustrated. Okay. Okay, if anybody can, I don't know if you're allowed to message him as much as me. I can't figure out how to see the.
Can you transfer him to a workroom, to one of the side rooms?
I just don't know how to find him. That's the problem. Like I have a lot of boxes open, and
He just muted himself, Rabbi. So
okay, great, thanks. Okay, I appreciate it. Okay, great, excellent. So, okay, so just going back here, we're not in mourning halakhically. We're in a time of tsar and tzedakah. So it's a time of calling out to God, and that's from tshuva. So tefillah, tshuva, right? Prayer, repentance, and tzedakah and charity. That's what we do at these times. But definitely not ripping your shirt. I officiated a wedding tonight. I was a Masada Kedushin at a wedding tonight, and I was a student of mine in Tel Aviv, and I emphatically told him that he should get married. Some people are canceling their weddings. Some people are called up. I know a groom that was called up, and he's supposed to get married on Thursday, and he went to his unit. He felt that was more important. So each person, but definitely do not. You're not in mourning. Do we have any idea where the hostages may be? The hostages are going to be hidden very well. Hamas has prepared this for a very long time. I'm going to get frozen in a second. It says Hamas has prepared for this for a very, very long time. So they're going to be in homes. They're going to be underground. They're going to be very, very hard to find. I understand the current morale confidence unit IDF has been hit. No, that is not true. The IDF, the soldiers that I speak to, are the morale. I've never seen the morale as high as it is now. Morale and confidence has not been hit in the IDF. I don't want anybody to think that. The soldiers are strong. They're confident. They have a mission, and they're dedicated to that mission. This is every soldier and I've spoken to hundreds of soldiers over the last 2 days. The morale is high, and personally, if I was a member of Hamas now, I'd be terrified and I'd be running because they're going to really come after them. Current threats from the north, again, we're not sure if Hezbollah could be coming in or not. Could there ever be possibly coexistence between Jews and Palestinians? Okay, that's a good question. A little mega, for right now. If you could come up with a way that Israelis and Palestinians could get along, you'd win a Nobel Peace Prize. And so far we have yet to come up with a plan that would work. So I wouldn't, but again, that's a little too big for right now. Do we need to make contact with the U.S. Embassy about our children? No, you do not need to. The U.S. Embassy is fully aware. There are 500,000 American citizens that live between the Jordan River and the Mediterranean Sea. This is something I'm a contact for the U.S. Embassy about this. But there's just no way the U.S. Embassy is going to really be able to service everybody. I saw something that they're bringing over the aircraft carrier to take all the Americans out and bring them onto the aircraft carrier. I didn't even realize we would require the entire U.S. Navy, every cruise ship that America owns. It would just it should be mission impossible. And then you'd also have people from Gaza and Palestinians from the West Bank and Israelis on the same ship. I can't even imagine, what it would be like. Okay, ratio of Israeli deaths of civilians to soldiers. Nobody knows that. I don't know that. There's a lot of soldiers we had, unfortunately, in our town. A lot of soldiers have died, and a lot of civilians have died. Do I expect anti-Semitism to increase in places outside of Israel? For sure. Yeah, you can expect that. You're going to see the worst of people come out that are out there. Can you read your answer about hostages? It glitched, sorry. So hostages, Hamas has been preparing for this for years. And they've been preparing to have places where they could hide hostages that are going to be very difficult and challenging for Israeli soldiers to get to. They're going to be surrounded by explosives. Hostages are going to have explosives attached to them. It's not going to be easy. I don't know how, and we sort of have this feeling of the IDF that they're invincible and they can do anything. We've learned that that's not true in an unfortunate way. So we and that's it's not going to go well with these hostages. There's not going to be some sort of deal that frees all the hostages. Israel simply not. Hamas is going to demand, and Hamas has said that they have enough hostages to get everybody, every Hamas member in an Israeli jail. We're talking a couple thousand people out, and that would normally be true. It would normally be true that we would trade, one hostage for 1,000 Hamas members. That's not going to happen this time. I don't know what's going to happen with the hostages. It's just not going to go well. Is nuclear on the table? No, we're not going to nuke anybody. There's nobody to nuke. If we nuked the people in Gaza, we'd be hitting ourselves. And we're not going to nuke Iran over this. Israel is committed never to use nuclear weapons, as the first strike. So nothing's going nuclear here. Why are pro-Palestinians in the U.S. protesting against anti-Semitism if they're the ones who killed 700 people? Because pro-Palestinians hate us, and they're going to try to turn the narrative against us. How can we respond to people saying that was happening as Palestinian resistance and liberation? Explain to them that resistance people don't go out and aim at children and shoot children in the head, and they don't go to bus stops where there are senior citizens and shoot them in the head. That's not resistance. So there's resistance. Resistance is fighting against an army. Resistance is not fighting, and resistance means that you try to come up with negotiations and peace. You don't declare that you're going to try to annihilate the entire Jewish people. That's Hamas's mission. So if anybody thinks that this is resistance, simply resistance doesn't have people walking through the streets, finding senior citizens at bus stops, shooting them in the head, coming into families, shooting children in front of their parents. That's not resistance. So anybody that calls this resistance is themselves part of the problem. Does the Mr. of field-based SAR apply on a Tzibor level? Yes. That's what this is. This is exactly that when we have a time when Bnei Israel is in trouble, when the Jewish people are in trouble, there's no time that could be more applicable than this one right now. How is it possible Israel doesn't see this coming? I don't know. Is Russia taking a part of this? I can't believe so. I don't know, but I don't imagine why Russia would have anything to do with this. Do you think fear of Israeli normalization with Saudi Arabia? Yes, I think that that this had a lot to do with the Saudi plan, and this is Hamas trying to stop normalization with Saudi Arabia. So yes, I definitely think that is that for sure was a motivating factor for Hamas to do this right now. To me, my internet is glitchy. Thanks. Okay. With Iran's breakout time for nuclear weapon so low as a concern, Israel's contending with we're always worried about Iran's nuclear program, but I have a feeling we have that under control. How long do you think this war will go on for? I don't know. No one knows that. It could be days, it could be weeks, it could be months. No one knows, especially with the hostages. Any signs of the politicians of the nation uniting? We're hoping. We don't know. We're hoping that everybody comes together on this one and nobody's playing politics, but they definitely haven't yet. Do you expect seeing a ceasefire soon? No, not at all. I don't see a ceasefire happening anytime soon. Is normalization with Saudi Arabia still plausible in the near term? I think so. I think that Israel is going to have to focus its attention, especially its leaders, on the war at first. But I definitely think that Saudi Arabia, it's in Saudi Arabia's best interest. So I think that they will do it. Okay. Any war-related halacha relevant to how Israel should treat people in Gaza these times? A halacha does not accord with international law with hostages. If you start looking at halacha, and with enemies. Halacha is not going to go according to international law on this one, but Israel's not a halachic state. You can think that's a good thing or a bad thing, but that's no. Do you expect seeing a ceasefire soon? No, not at all. Not until these hostages are taken. It will not be a ceasefire for a long time. Do you think they try to negotiate for hostages? I think there's going to be negotiations, but I don't think that they're going to really work out. I don't know how this would work. With negotiations, there's just so many people that are hostages, and what Hamas is going to demand is going to be too much. How is it possible again that Israel didn't see this coming? We don't know. Okay, we're not sure. Nobody knows, and again, that'll be for another time, for after this is over. Okay, I think that's everybody's questions. Again, 3 things that you could do if you're in America right now, and I assume anybody on this call is in America because it's 5 a.m. here. Number 1, pray. When I mean pray, if you're somebody that goes to shul, so then go to shul. If you're somebody that doesn't normally go to a synagogue, maybe this is the time, this Shabbat, maybe during the morning to go to synagogue. If you don't feel comfortable in synagogue, then turn to God and pray in the way that you know how to. That's really important. On a more, concrete level, physical level, email your member of Congress. Just Google who's my member of Congress, and then find their website. They'll have a contact form. Just fill that out. Okay, that's I'd say for the second thing. And give to an Israeli charity. Give to a charity that's helping Israel. Again, it doesn't have to be a large donation. $5, $10, $100, whatever level that you're at, that you're able to give. That's what I would say. Okay. Okay. I hope everybody is well. I'll try to do these maybe every once in a while. But I hope that we should have peace